By 2077, Night City was voted the worst place to live in America. Modern day, multicultural and thriving metropolis of the 21st century, overrun by corporations, corruption, organised crime and gang violence. The city itself has a long violent history, but in this video we're just going to dive into the districts and the sub-districts of Night City in the year 2077. So let's have a look. Night City is made up of 6 main districts, with each one of these will be broken into sub-districts. The main districts are Watson, Westbrook, City Centre, Heywood, Santo Domingo and Pacifica. I'm going to give you intel on each of these areas so you can be confident when you arrive in Night City and hit the ground running. Let's start with Watson. Today Watson is a sad and desperate place. It is one of Night City's poorest districts and is the battleground between the Maelstrom and the Tiger Claw gangs. It's hard to think that Watson used to be a thriving place. Some Japanese corporations had high hopes for Watson, and it had it all, bustling nightclubs, tall skyscrapers and a med centre, and even had its own industrial sector in the north. It all changed when Saburo Arasaka brought his corporations back to Night City after the Unification War. He set forth to destroy any competition in the area, which he did, one by one. And that's when it changed. The industrial district stopped providing jobs, people became unemployed, and Arasaka took control over the waterfront, which is what he wanted all along. Now Watson is the living area of the low-income factory employees who still have their job in the few operational factories left in the district. You will see roadblocks on all the bridges leading from Watson to the other parts of the city as a way to keep the poor from visiting the rest of the city. Watson is broken into 4 districts: the Arasaka Waterfront, Kabuki, Little China, and the Northside Industrial District, often referred to as the NID. Let's start with Little China. Little China resembles the poorest areas elsewhere in Night City. However, the food, shops, neon lights, lingo, and flavour are all distinctly Chinese. The castes are all mixed up here, with living blocks beside affluent condo buildings and legal gambling dens next to offices of legitimate businesses. You'll find low and mid-tier corpos come here on occasion for cheap fun and casinos and strip clubs, and to mix with the poor and homeless on the streets. No gang claims this territory of Little China, but the Tiger Claws often come here for fun. Little China is also the home of the Afterlife Bar, a bar owned by Rogue, a legendary solo and currently one of the biggest fixers in Night City.
That's Rogue, best fixer in all of Night City.
Many come to this bar to hire solos to do some work for them, and the club even has a bar that names its drinks after legendary edge runners.
Johnny Silverhands coming up.
During the daytime, Kabuki has narrow, tangled alleyways full of chop suey joints, seedy cosmetic boutiques, and cheap junk shops, all decorated with flickering neon lights. During the night, however, Kabuki is the heart of Night City's black market. Here you will find all manner of illegal transactions: implants, organs, combat drugs, prototype cyber augmentations, steroid, scent viruses, snuff braindance recordings. It's all there for you to buy if you know the right places and the right people. There are allegedly several black clinics operating in hidden basements or backrooms that install illicit military-grade and prototype cyberware. The whole area is densely populated, except for the northern edge, where warehouses and abandoned factories are occupied by various gangs, transients and junkies. Tiger Claws maintain a presence in the area, as do some Maelstrom members from the NID, but neither of them claim the territory of Kabuki. The Mocs now hold control over the sub-district. Lizzie's Bar is also well worth a mention here, as it's one of Kabuki's most popular braindance clubs and brothels. In the north of Watson you have the Northside Industrial District, also called the NID. It's a desolate and neglected area, filled with mostly abandoned factories and working class apartments. New apartment blocks were built on the edge of the district to hide it from the rest of Night City. They're home to mid-level employees who manage a few operational factories in this area. Still, people need to live here. Many have come here looking for the opportunity of a new life, and they got a big chance to work in one of the few factories. And now they're stuck in limbo. Some other residents of the NID have it much worse. The Maelstrom gang have moved in and claimed this area as their own territory. They use its abandoned buildings as hideouts, illegal braindance studios and warehouses for the loot they steal from the corporate transports. The Arasaka Waterfront is an important link to the corporation's supply chain, with hundreds of shipments coming in each month to the city. The containers are packed and sorted by automated robots and sent to corporate-owned warehouses and outposts. There is a wall constructed surrounding the entire waterfront area, using motion detectors, electrified razor fence, and automated armoured gun turrets to keep all non-corporates out of the area. So, if you're not an Arasaka employee, you're not welcome here. In the east of the city, you have Westbrook. Westbrook is considered by many to be the best place to live and to have fun in all of the city. This is the home of many of the wealthy elites, celebrities, corporates, and most influential members of society. However, this wasn't always the case. In 2023, after a nuclear bomb set off in the Arasaka Tower, a portion of the Westbrook closest to the city centre sustained significant damage. During the Great Restoration of Night City, residents saw that many of the ruins were moved and replaced by Asian corporations. The once dangerous combat zone was revived into an exclusive, ultra-secure district. Today, Westbrook is broken into 3 distinct districts: Japantown, North Oak, and the Charter Hill. Japantown is an especially important part of Night City for 2 distinct reasons. First, being it's the cultural centre for the city's sizable Japanese community. The second reason being Japantown is the home base of the Yakuza family, operating throughout the Free State of California. Japantown during the daytime is usually crowded with tourists, for whom there are many bars, fancy restaurants, gaming parlours, and some of the major sightseeing spots in the city. After dark though, Japantown becomes the party district for the rich corpos and tourists alike. Both groups like to visit some of the fancy brothels, lose their money in the casinos, and get drunk to the point of blackout. Both groups have to be careful not to cross with the Tiger Claws though, as these gangs rule this district during the night hours. Charter Hill is well known as the place many aspiring and ambitious corpos that can't afford to live in North Oak reside. This part of the district is all about mass housing. However, living here leads to a lifestyle under constant attack. Because of this, the wealthy need to work with bodyguards, as well as the use of armoured vehicles just to stay safe. It's the price you need to pay if you want a taste of such luxury. Nevertheless, most aspiring mid-level corpos work from sunrise to sunset in Westbrook or city centre, and then party in Japantown after a day's work to sleep off their hangovers in one of their apartments in Charter Hill. Each of them secretly dreams of becoming a CEO of some corporation and moving out of North Oak, but that doesn't stop them from burning each other at the hope of achieving that goal. North Oak is the home of many of Night City's untouchable elite: corporate regional directors, managers, bankers, and executives. Private security forces are present all over this area. Because of this, no gangs reside here. North Oak is considered one of the most beautiful neighbourhoods in all of Night City, and passing through it you will see luxurious cars, private villas, and tennis courts. The city centre is the real showcase in Night City. The once soldering battlefield of the Fourth Corporate War and the nuclear fallout from the Arasaka Tower assault was now completely restored. Restoration of the district was a lengthy and costly process. It started in the 2030s and ended just recently when the Arasaka Tower was rebuilt in the 2070s. In 2077, it's now the most fortified district in all of Night City, filled with modern, cutting-edge architecture. City Centre is where you can witness the unrivaled might of the megacorps, in all its arrogance. The Corpo Plaza was rebuilt after the war, and is now the most recognisable fixture in Night City. It's also a sign of the corporation's return to power after the long years of humiliation and disgrace. The plaza's giant skyscrapers and towering mega buildings are once again host to the offices of Arasaka and Militech. The plaza is always crowded with all types of low and mid-level corpos hurrying around from one meeting to the next. The armoured AVs carrying high-ranking executives circle over your head, docking and taking off again from the landing pads. It seems peaceful, but the NCPD officers are armoured corporate guards and are always on constant patrol, reminding everyone who's really in charge of this district. Everyone has to pass through multiple security checkpoints to enter any plaza building. Next to Corpo Plaza, you have downtown. Downtown is full of narrow alleyways, nightclubs, office buildings, exclusive apartments, hotels and restaurants. Its northern waterfront is a mecca for artists and snobs, with galleries and concert halls around every corner. During the night, the wide streets are well lit and buzzing, filled with people and traffic. Being an upper tier district, downtown is also the social heart of Night City. Despite the elegance and power of downtown, it isn't as secure as it would seem. Take the wrong turn and you'll find yourself surrounded by sleazy love hotels, dive bars, and shady corners where drug deals and worse go down. To the south of city centre you have Heywood. Heywood is a district of complete contrast. The north borders the city centre and is where you'll find lush parks and modern skyscrapers towering high above. However, further south the views change drastically, with dangerous and unwelcoming slums dominating the urban landscape. Heywood isn't all bad though, even with the Valentinos and six-drink gangs roaming around. It's known by the locals as the biggest bedroom in Night City, due to the most people living there. The safest part of Heywood is Wellsprings. Wellsprings is full of working stiffs and underpaid corporate employees, much like any other American city in 2077. Wellsprings is a relatively safe district. On the west side it borders city centre. The buildings here are newer and modern, brought to life by the rebuilding of Night City. The southwest of the district has buildings that are smaller and older. These apartments are around mid-tier to downright cheap, however Wellsprings manages to keep the overall aura of class. The Valentino's graffiti covers the walls in this area, but they aren't as active in this district as they are in others. After Night City got taken over by corporations, the government moved to the Glen. It's now a state-owned sub-district with a town hall, mayor's office, court, and for what it's worth, an NCPD station. During the rebuilding period, right around the time Night City made a deal with the corporations to aid the city's reconstruction, the Glen was planned to seat the new power of the city-state's government. The state-owned district is rich, clean, and mostly crime-free. Not far from City Hall, things in the district look much worse. Buildings are uglier and poorer. This is the district where gangs rule. It's the turf of the Valentinos and the 6th Street gang. As the buildings get more dilapidated, it's impossible to ignore the clear correlation between the quality of societal wealth and class. Vista Del Rey is the poorest district of Heywood, and is dramatically afflicted with poverty and violence. Gangs overrun this part of the district of Heywood. The streets are definitely less crowded than the rest. Graffiti covers the walls of crumbling buildings, clearly indicating the Valentinos are in charge here. That being said, the 6th Street also hosts territory here as well. Mega buildings and apartment blocks look run down and neglected. This dying district filled with poor folks and gangsters must be very irritating for the corporate next door. The corporations would most likely try to take this area by force if they weren't afraid of the bad PR that the pacification of an entire district would cost them. Despite how poor it might be, Vista Del Rey is far from a combat zone. Pacifica was originally made to be Night City's money-making vacation resort. It was to be the true paradise, catering for corporate employees and tourists alike, with its golden sandy beaches, luxurious hotels, and unmatched entertainment. This was before the economic collapse, causing much of the corporate funding to stop, and the district was left unfinished and lawless. Construction work was put on a permanent hold, leaving most of the buildings unfinished, forever to remain the hulking concrete and steel shells that they were at the time. The district has now since been overrun by poverty, violence and gangs. All the buildings are now shelters for homeless, rather than the tourists it was suspected to house. The Voodoo Boys, a techno-mystical group of netrunners, made this place their base of operations. Originating from the Haiti community that settled in Night City after their country was ravaged by climate disaster, they took it upon themselves to protect the local community, forsaken and left to fend from themselves by the NCPD. Corporate workers tried to clear out the construction areas of squatters, but they were met by resistance from the Voodoo Boys. Further attempts made by the NCPD escalated to full-scale riots that lasted for weeks. Fearing that clearing the neighbourhood would result in a bloodbath, the chief of the NCPD ordered a withdrawal of the police units from the area. City Council shut down all city services to Pacifica to force the Voodoo Boys and the locals to leave, but to no avail. From that time, both the West Wind Estate and Coastview districts slowly turned into new combat zone within Night City. Neither the NCPD nor the corporate forces have any power in Pacifica. Gang fights and drug trafficking are just part of daily routine here, but locals have just gotten used to it. Outsiders are not welcome. To go to Pacifica, one should first gain favour of the Voodoo Boys or one of the local gangs. Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo is one of the oldest districts in Night City. Due to its location, the district avoided any major damage in the Fourth Corporate War. It turned into a provisional camp for thousands of citizens seeking shelter. In 2077, the settlements are gone and Santo Domingo has become the testing ground for industrial projects. Corporations destroy old factories only to build new ones in their place. Meanwhile, residents scrape at desperate living in crowded mega buildings, hoping for a better life to come. It didn't take long for a couple of ex-military veterans to group together and take matters into their own hands. District then became home to the 6th Street Gang. Santo Domingo has two subdistricts, Arroyo and Rancho Coronado. Arroyo is the industrial heart of Santo Domingo, while Rancho Coronado is the self-sufficient town similar to the 20th century American suburbs. Arroyo is the industrial heart of Santo Domingo. It is a region of contrast. Here you can find an old nuclear power plant and a junkyard right next to a newly built high corporate factory. Operational factories keep their own private security, as neglected buildings quickly become controlled by the gangs. The workers from Arroyo return home to Rancho Coronado. Rancho Coronado is a self-sufficient housing district with dozens of identical homes similar to those that were in the American homes in the 20th century. The district has its own bars, school, shopping, parks, restaurants, and even its own metro station. Security is overseen by the 6th Street Gang, while the NCPD maintain overwatch over the suburbs. Most of the people living in Rancho Coronado are mid to high level factory workers at Arroyo, often going their entire lives without ever leaving Santo Domingo. Despite the utopian-inspired concept of the 20th century American suburbs, the neglect and despair can clearly be seen in this area. So that is an overlook of all the districts and sub-districts of Night City in Cyberpunk 2077. CDProjekt Red have gone to a lot of work to make this city feel alive, even consulting with real-world city planners. As a result, Night City becomes a living, breathing city. If you like this content, please leave a like and let me know in the comments. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification. See you all in Night City.